Where Winds Meet is one of those games that catches your attention right away. An open world inspired by ancient China, with martial arts, epic drama, and freedom of choice worthy of modern RPGs. But hold on, not everything that it seems is what really happens here. Today I'm going to show you 10 things that nobody told you about Where Winds Meet. I am Matthew, and the video is about to start. Where Winds Meet is one of those games that manages to surprise with its detail and creativity in exploration mechanics. And one of the things that caught my attention the most was the ability to shrink. It's not every day you find such a unique feature that completely changes how you view the scenario. This mystic art that allows you to become tiny brings a very cool feeling of being a true ninja infiltrating secret passages, literally entering places where no one else can. The masterstroke of this ability for me is how it expands the game's rhythm. While many Metroidvanias lead you to revisit areas with new abilities, this shrinking one isn't just for advancing, but for the pure fun of exploration. It's the kind of thing that makes you want to poke around every detail of the wall, because you know there might be a hidden passage waiting to give you that rare item that's worth gold. It even gives you a thrill when you find that secret chest, because it has the taste of reward for your curiosity. I see this ability as a way for the game to reward the attention and experience of the player who loves to search everything. It's not just a matter of getting items, it's the feeling that the game world is alive, full of secrets, and that it's worth paying attention to every corner. It's an invitation to get lost in the map, knowing that every tiny hole could be a new surprise. You can feel that the developers put care into this detail, because they know it's from these small discoveries that we create lasting memories within the game. And there's also a very stylish aspect to all this. The idea of becoming tiny and sliding down cliffs or walls gives that ninja vibe that I love. The feeling of stealth, of agility, is almost palpable. And that's why this mystic art isn't just a gameplay ability, but also an immersive experience. It reminds me of those classic martial arts movies, where the character vanishes from the enemy's sight only to appear in unbelievable places. This adds a special spice to the exploration. For those who are fans of Metroidvania and deep exploration, this ability is a real treat. It brings originality and makes the game more dynamic when it's time to discover hidden treasures. I personally love these mechanics that go outside the box and make us think, how am I going to find this? In Where Winds Meet, the simple act of shrinking to enter a tiny hole became one of my favorite parts of the journey, because it's a detail that reveals how creative and rewarding a game can be for those who like to explore. Where Winds Meet doesn't stop surprising, and one of the details that really got me was the hyper-realistic crime system. This thing about NPCs being snitches gives enormous weight to your actions in the game, creating that constant tension that you're not in a world just to walk around killing and stealing without consequences. When you steal, seeing the NPC suddenly call the guards is almost like being in a prank, and this reaction gives a lot of realism and excitement to every step you take. The most interesting side of this for me is the balance the game strikes between danger and reward. If you're hot-headed and start killing the whole village, the consequence isn't just some silly punishment, it turns into a hunt, with a giant bounty on your head. This type of mechanic creates a hunter and hunted atmosphere that makes the game much more alive and unpredictable. It's a brilliant move for those who like a challenge and enjoy feeling that their decisions have real weight in the world. Another point I find incredible about this mechanic is how it reinforces the game's world and narrative. When NPCs have this attitude of protecting themselves and reporting you, you feel that you're not just in a static scenario, but in a place where everyone has a role and a natural reaction to your actions. This interaction provides a layer of immersion that few games manage, because we're talking about people who live there, who react logically and coherently. I can't fail to highlight the adrenaline of being caught and having to flee or face the guards who show up in force. This part of the system transforms every criminal action into something much more strategic. It's not just stealing for stealing's sake. It's thinking, can I get away? What's the best time to strike? This makes the gameplay much richer, mixing stealth, combat, and decision-making in just the right measure. The crime system in Where Winds Meet is one of those details that elevate the game from a simple Metroidvania to an almost unique experience. The way it mixes realism, tension, and consequence creates an environment where every wrong step can turn into a huge problem. And that's what got me, because I love when the game doesn't make life easy and really makes the player think and adapt. It's a complete package that rewards those who like to explore, but with that care not to go around breaking everything without preparation. Where Winds Meet brings playable bounty hunters, and I confess that this mechanic hooked me right away. The idea of being targeted by NPCs and other players while you have a high bounty on your head creates a tension that's hard to find in other titles. It's like being in that situation where every step could be your last, and paranoia becomes part of the game, because you never know where an invasion might come from. What I really liked about this system is how it mixes PvP and PvE in a perfect blend, much in the style of an Elden Ring, but with that wuxia flavor that gives it a unique identity. Strategies need to be constantly rethought, because besides dealing with traditional enemies, you need to keep an eye on other players and NPC hunters, which makes the game much more dynamic and unpredictable. The adrenaline of escaping an ambush or turning the tables and hunting who came after you is addictive. This mechanic also brings a sense of community and rivalry that I find fundamental for open-world games. When you know you can be hunted at any moment, you end up getting more involved in the story and conflicts, creating your own stories with other players and NPCs. This not only increases replayability, but also makes the game a living experience, full of unexpected encounters and exciting battles in situations that depend more on skill and strategy than just the character. For me, the big differentiator is that this system makes the game unpredictable and challenging without losing the essence of the wuxia style, with fluid fights and agile movement. It's not just about going out and fighting everyone, but using intelligence to position yourself, flee, and counterattack at the right time. This demands more from the player and brings greater satisfaction with each victory or successful escape, because you feel like you really fought for your life in that moment. One of the most striking things in Where Winds Meet, for those who enjoy truly different experiences, is this hilarious and humiliating mechanic of the Paseo da Vergonha, walk of shame, when you get arrested. It's not enough to be captured. The game gives you the option to face a public punishment, being dragged through the streets on a donkey while everyone, including other players, throws vegetables at you to mock you even more. It's the kind of punishment that mixes humor with that dash of embarrassment, creating completely memorable situations. What catches my attention the most is how this system reinforces the idea of real consequences within the game's universe. It goes far beyond the traditional being locked up for a few minutes. You literally become the center of attention in a comical way, paying for your sins in public square. This makes people think twice before going around causing trouble, but it also offers scenes that only a game with a lot of boldness can provide. The dynamic of this Paseo da Vergonha turns even the punishment into multiplayer fun. Players who see the scene can interact by throwing vegetables, laughing, or even helping to reduce your sentence. It's a form of brilliant community integration, which yields a lot of laughs and even creates spontaneous mini-events within the server. It's that type of punishment that, far from frustrating, manages to make defeat a funny experience, almost a rite of passage. For those who like to create epic moments to tell later, being dragged through the game's streets like this becomes a story forever. It's impossible not to remember your own tour of shame and laugh at yourself instead of just being frustrated for getting caught. This light and cartoonish tone helps keep the game fun even in defeat, one of the most important things in online experiences. Deep down, I think it's brilliant how Where Winds Meet turns even a penalty into a true spectacle. Where Winds Meet brings one of the most thrilling multiplayer experiences with its mass prison escape system. The simple fact of being able to team up with friends to organize a rebellion and try to break the bars already creates that expectation of controlled chaos that is perfect for those who enjoy cooperative challenges. It's not just about pressing buttons, it's a whole collective strategy that requires everyone in their role for the mission to succeed, and that makes the gameplay much more fun and engaging. One of the things that won me over with this mechanic is the perfect balance between tension and fun. You know you'll face relentless guards and deadly traps, but at the same time, everything has that light tone that yields laughs and stories to tell. The minigame is a controlled madness, where the adrenaline of almost being caught mixes with funny moments, resulting from the group's trial and error trying to break the bars and run away. It has an authentic co-op hardcore vibe where everyone needs to be in sync because one slip-up can ruin the whole plan. For me, the best part is precisely this interaction between players, which makes the event more than just a simple mission. It almost becomes a game within the game. Being with friends, each one scrambling to avoid the traps and the guard's attention, creates a team spirit that is rarely so well executed in other titles. Not to mention that the feeling of celebration when the escape finally happens is something that sticks with you and leaves that taste of, I need to try again. The hardcore multiplayer mode of this minigame also adds an extra layer of challenge, forcing the group to use more refined tactics and constant communication to survive. This is something that few games manage to do so well, give that collective thrill, where every second counts and the tension is real, but without losing the lightness of fun among friends. Mystic arts stolen from enemies and where winds meet gave me one of the most engaging gameplay feelings I've ever experienced in a game of this genre. The idea of observing the opponent in combat and being able to assimilate their secret abilities brings a strategic depth that goes far beyond the usual. It's as if the game challenges you to be more than just a simple fighter. You become an attentive student, absorbing everything to use the same powerful techniques to your advantage. This mechanic has a sense of identification that I love in games with a wuxia theme. When you manage, for example, to steal the ability to breathe fire or heal yourself, it's not just another move in your repertoire. It's almost like absorbing the enemy's essence and transforming it into your own power. This creates moments of connection and satisfaction because it's the result of your observation and your skill, and not just an automatic achievement. Moreover, assembling clues around the world works as an irresistible invitation for those who enjoy exploring and solving mysteries within the game. The feeling of becoming a detective, putting together pieces of information here and there, further reinforces the wuxia atmosphere, where knowing more about the environment and the characters is as important as the fight itself. This enriches the game's universe and makes the player feel inserted into a more complex and nuanced narrative. I really liked how this mechanic rewards patience and attention to detail, instead of just bashing away without thinking. It's a perfect balance between action and reflection that makes the gameplay more varied. The solution isn't always to attack with brute force, but to observe, learn, and use the right mystic arts at the right time. This opens up a huge strategic range and new possibilities for different playstyles. Where Winds Meet brings several interesting mechanics, but one that always caught my attention was the use of the fan as a ranged healing weapon. Calling the fan a weapon is perhaps a bit unusual, especially since it doesn't function as a traditional attack weapon, but rather as a versatile tool that mixes damage and support. This duality already gives a special touch for those who like to play on the front lines, but also want to take care of the team. For me, the Panacea fan is much more than a simple support item. It's a strategic piece that fits perfectly in raids and cooperative matches, where the group's survival depends on everyone's collaboration. Using a weapon that allows you to both attack enemies and heal allies creates an interesting game dynamic where you need to decide the right moment for each action. It's that kind of tool that rewards those who know how to handle situations well. I particularly like the idea of it being an option for support builds that don't want to give up dealing damage. Normally, in this type of game, supports end up focusing only on healing or buffs, becoming limited in direct combat. With the fan, you can maintain an active presence in fights, contributing offensively and still protecting the team from a distance. This combination gives a much more dynamic and engaging feel for a support player. Furthermore, this functionality of the fan creates a unique identity for the character who uses it. It not only marks a preference in playstyle, but also brings its own look and narrative, something I consider very important in games that value building meaningful characters. It's another detail that makes Where Winds Meet stand out, by offering elements that aren't found in every game of the genre. The Panacea fan is one of those mechanics that make the experience more fun and tactical. The use of the umbrella as a weapon in Where Winds Meet is simply insane and shows how creative the game is when it comes to reinventing conventional weapons with a unique touch. The Ninefold umbrella and the Soul Shade umbrella aren't just weapons, but multifunctional tools that totally break the expectation of what an umbrella can do in combat. The fact that they can block projectiles already makes these weapons interesting, but what really catches the eye is the ability to glide and even summon shadows. This direct reference to classic wuxia films brings a cinematic vibe to the game that I love. It's that perfect mix of action and style, where everything seems choreographed, flowing almost poetically. Playing with this weapon gives a feeling of being in an epic movie scene, being able to dodge bullets while doing aerial maneuvers that leave even enemies confused. This elevates the experience to another level and shows the care the game has with its cultural inspiration. As it's a weapon that combines defense, mobility, and attack, it ends up being a favorite choice for those who enjoy a more agile and strategic playstyle. The fact that you can open the umbrella to glide gives a difference in movement, allowing you to explore the map and escape dangerous situations with a lot of creativity. And on top of that, summoning shadows adds a mystical and visually impactful element that not only enchants but also intensifies the combat. I think it's very cool how this weapon creates a strong identity for the character who uses it. It suggests a profile of an elegant fighter who masters both defense and attack with style and precision. This contributes a lot to immersion, as you feel you are truly living something that dialogues with the wuxia universe, with that atmosphere of mystery, beauty, and danger all at the same time. Without a doubt, the umbrella in this version is much more than just a simple object of protection. The sects in Where Winds Meet go far beyond the traditional cliché, bringing an entry system that is simply brilliant and, at the same time, bizarre. The idea of having to go through tests as peculiar as pranks, acts of kindness, or even solving math problems adds a layer of humor and surprise in the middle of the adventure. It's not every day you see a game that mixes such different things to define if a character is worthy of joining a sect. What I like about this mechanic is how it puts the player in a position of reflection and strategy from the beginning. Every choice you make when approaching a sect has real consequences that go far beyond the obvious, including changing the flow of quests and your reputation. This unpredictability gives a feeling of a living world where your actions and decisions truly matter and shape the game experience in a unique way. Furthermore, the test options vary greatly in tone and challenge, which keeps interest always high. Sometimes you're laughing at a crazy prank, other times doing something unexpectedly altruistic, and others racking your brain with math. This mix not only entertains but also challenges the player to adapt and think outside the box, something I always think greatly enriches a game. The system also creates a personal narrative within the game's universe, as each sect has its own culture and vision, and how you approach it can totally transform the relationship with that group. This enhances the player's role as an agent within this community, where your reputation can open doors or harden barriers forever. I really like this approach because it brings real weight to your choices and personality within the game. Where Winds Meet brings a historical Easter egg that is a charm for fans of Chinese culture and art. In the brothel of the city of Kaifeng, capital of the Song dynasty, the developers recreated with impressive fidelity the 10th century painting Night Revels of Han Shizai. It's a lesson in detail that, besides faithfully setting the game in that period, brings a deep connection to the history and aesthetics of the time, making the player feel like they are living inside a living painting. For me, this type of detail is what differentiates Where Winds Meet from so many other games, which end up failing due to superficiality in their historical settings. The very idea of placing such a rich Easter egg in a location like the brothel is already something bold and interesting, because it shows the creation team's attention to the details of the social culture of that time, which involved entertainment and politics in a very complex way. A curious point that makes the narrative even more intriguing is the scene cut from the beta, where a dancer reveals she is actually disguised as a woman, carrying a dagger. This brings an air of mystery and danger to a setting that, at first glance, might just seem like a place of fun. For those who enjoy games with secret narrative layers and unexpected revelations, this is pure gold. Besides this narrative impact, this cut revelation reinforces the idea that Where Winds Meet is not afraid to take risks and explore less conventional narratives, especially within a historical context. It shows that the characters and their roles are multifaceted, and that the game takes special care in creating atmospheres that grip the player not just by the aesthetics, but by the story that unfolds there. This combination of hidden history, art, and narrative is exactly what makes the experience in Where Winds Meet memorable for me.
少东家好。